snarling smiles of lions in Botswana, Africa.
It's very strange when they look into your eyes. You know what they're thinking.
A tribal village in Ethiopia.
It was like we went back in time 20,000 years.
Perfect poses of costumed characters at Carnival in Venice.
I seek out the spectacular everywhere in the world.
These are among the many fantastic photographs possible for those fortunate travelers who follow Jim Zuckerman and his camera across the continent.
When people see Victoria Falls for the first time, for example, in Zimbabwe, the largest waterfall in the world, they can't believe it. And I love to see their expressions when I introduce them to these incredible things. You have to cut that down by at least 2/3 of a stop, maybe one full stop.
The limited budget of our Creative License Art Show allows our TV camera to go only as far as a hotel conference room in St. Louis. But even here is a chance to take exotic pictures.
We could shoot flowers, but anybody can shoot flowers. But not very many people have access to poison dart frogs and chameleons and geckos and snakes.
I'm always excited to come to these things, and I'm always amazed how much better they are than what I can even imagine.
It would be extremely difficult to do in the wild. First of all, you've got to find them. In 2 days, we photograph about 50 species of creatures, and it would take a lifetime to get this in the wild.
These are people who typically take pictures for fun rather than money. Several of them have been to Jim Zuckerman workshops in wilder places, like the mother and son who tracked him to Minnesota.
I did a wildlife tour with him in this past January. Ben and I both went up to Minnesota to do wolves, and we did mountain lions and things like that.
It was really cool because they're moving, and you can't get that close to a wild animal like that without getting attacked. I got a lot of good pictures.
As a young man, Jim chose the camera over a scalpel for his career, leaving the study of medicine behind to pursue the passion he felt for taking pictures.
My biggest concern or fear when I was young and deciding upon a career was being bored. I didn't want to go to a job and come home and not want to go back to the job, but knowing I had to. And so I chose a business or a job where every time I go out, I'm looking forward to it.
While Jim looks forward to finding spectacular scenes in fabulous places, he's also an opportunist who can find great subjects for snapshots just about anywhere, like the caterpillars in his own backyard, or visually dramatic changes of Tennessee weather.
A few nights ago, we had a great lightning storm. We didn't have bolts, but we had cloud-to-cloud lightning. And these beautiful cumulus clouds were being illuminated at night, and I got amazing shots. Most of my photography is done from a tripod, but sometimes I just like the freedom of hand-holding and not worrying so much about depth of field. What I'm doing now is taking pictures of out-of-focus foliage. I use them as backgrounds behind macro subjects, behind birds, behind all kinds of things, even outdoor portraits of people.
His reference to shooting backgrounds is a hint that Jim thinks more like an artist than a photojournalist. The computer screen becomes his canvas as he turns the reality of photographs into figments of fantasy.
With Photoshop, you can do anything. You know, the sky's the limit. Your imagination is the limit.
He proves his point in a picture that begins with a beautiful breed of horses called Gypsy Vanners.
They come from England and Scotland, and I found a ranch near where I live in Tennessee who has Gypsy Vanners. Here's the original picture. And the lighting is very pretty. The young lady who modeled for me is elegant and attractive. The horse is stunning. But the background is just not inspiring. This is what I did with it. Now, notice several things about this. First, I included all of this detail hair. That took 3 hours of just cutting around that horse at 600% magnification. I was basically going pixel by pixel. The background is a waterfall I photographed in Silver Falls State Park in Oregon. So I put the background in and I made the reflection. And then after I did that, I thought, well, let's make this magical because the background looks magical and the horse looks magical. And so I bought a unicorn horn. And of course, if you need anything, you can buy it on eBay. So I found a unicorn horn. It's actually a cast of a narwhal tusk. So I bought it, I photographed it, I put it on the horse, and I would say this is one of my top 3 all-time favorite pictures.
Jim uses a similar series of illusions for a scene from medieval England.
I went to a local Renaissance fair, and I photographed these knights.
The armored knights reflect the afternoon sun, so Jim takes a photograph of a fog-enshrouded stand of trees in Italy. The images are blended, and a wooden jousting lance is replaced by a picture Jim shot of a sword he bought online.
And I took down the reflections on the armor, and I made the whole thing blue, so it was very moody and mystical.
Jim has delved even deeper into the past, using Photoshop as a time machine to make pictures of prehistoric, extinct creatures.
And so this is a Dilophosaurus, and the original is a plastic model about 2.5 feet long. You can see this reptilian skin looks absolutely real. And this comes from a chameleon that I photographed at the Frog and Reptile Workshop. And all I did was clone from that picture carefully onto this picture. Yeah, so I love the shot, and the background is a landscape in Vermont, autumn colors. I have to assume that 160 million years ago in the Jurassic, they had deciduous forests. I'm assuming that.
And anyone who can make a dinosaur look so alive would clearly have no problem making a 1929 Cadillac disappear from the Dodge estate in Detroit and reappear on the cliffs of Moher in Ireland.
So now the car looks like it was really there. Isn't that cool? You know, I could sit in this chair and manipulate my pictures, composite them, turn them into paintings, and I wouldn't have to take another picture. I could just keep working on these and produce literally thousands of artistic images just based upon software. Great time to be a photographer.
Having the imagination to make impossible pictures into realistic art is a talent Jim loves to share with those photographers who travel with him on worldwide tours.
I see things what can be possible. For example, in Venice, a lot of great shots at Carnival, costumes everywhere, but there's some classic Venetian architecture, like for example in San Marco Square, you've got the Doge's Palace, the Duke's Palace. Spectacular classic balcony, beautiful Venetian architecture from the 1400s. You never ever see any costumed person up there. You never see anybody up there actually. So I'm in San Marco Square and I think, wouldn't it be fantastic to have 1 or 2 costumed people up there? Well, if you know Photoshop, you can make that happen. You photograph the balcony. Now you're looking up at the balcony, so then you photograph a model kneeling, looking up at them, and you put it together. And you can't possibly tell that that person was not there. So I'm always giving them ideas like this. How to fix things, how to make it better, how to make it artistic, how to make it into a painting.
But most of the time, the pictures speak for themselves without need for fabrication.
Well, this is a straight picture taken with a 500mm telephoto from the other side of the marsh. This was done in France. I do a photography workshop here to photograph these incredible horses. We take them to the beach, and French cowboys, as it were, sort of herd them together. And then the group that I brought there and myself were all ready with our tripods and long lenses. And it's phenomenal. People who come on my trips will put up with all kinds of stuff. Heat, cold, horrible roads, dust, just to get their pictures. I did a trip to Ethiopia, and the roads can only be described as brutal. The only way to get there is by suffering those roads. But when you see what you're seeing, and then you look at your pictures and you show your friends these pictures, it's all worth it.
Jim Zuckerman has plenty of pictures to show, not only to his friends, but to people who want to buy them. And he is definitely not bored.
Photography can lead you down all kinds of paths, and you can learn so much about where it leads you. Photography is an unbelievable education, if you allow it to be. You have to have a passion. If I didn't have photography, I think my life would feel like it was diminished significantly.